Do you feel your visit to Bangladesh is sort of a homecoming since you have been there for a very long time studying?
We are all human beings, so emotional attachment is always there, and I've spent almost 10 plus years in Bangladesh. I have a lot of classmates and friends that I had played with, ate together, slept with, so why not? Yes, I'm excited at a personal note, but officially there are a lot of engagements with Bangladesh, so both officially as well as personally, I'm excited and looking forward to it.
Will you be visiting your alma mater, Mymensingh Medical College?
Yes, I see that on the schedule because I think both from our embassy side and their organizers side, they thought it is required, and I'm personally will be happy to just go around and see the places that I've spent almost 7 years. So a campus that would be very, very excited. But I told the organizers very clearly that if that is going to hamper my otherwise official visit key work, then I said I can do away with that. But I think I see that on the schedule. So yes, I'm excited to visit Mymensingh Medical College. And right now I'm also hearing that that college is doing very well, probably in the top position now. So that also gives me some excitement.
Lanshin, what are some of the issues that you'll discuss with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina?
There are no major outstanding issues right now, so we would like to boost our bilateral relation, Bhutanese to Bangladeshi touch. So that would be my biggest looking forward point. But there's some trade transits that we have with Bangladesh. We would like to smoothen out that. I'm taking a private sector group, trade group, whoever is interested, I've invited them. Those who already do business with them or those who are interested or have potentials to do business with Bangladeshi businessmen, I thought it's for partly our duty to explore the avenues and make things happen for them. So I'm excited on the trade front, whatever is happening to boost our ties, make it more efficient, cut down on the bottlenecks, make our business more efficient. And younger, more upcoming businessmen should also explore more. And the other side, myself being a doctor and health being chapter number 1 on this government, I'm excited to request Bangladesh government and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to support us with some specialists that we really, really require. Because we are not able to get specialists from other countries because we are not able to pay at that at their expectation. So through bilateral relation, through goodwill gesture from leadership in Dhaka, if my request on to giving us some specialists, maybe some 30-40 specialists, that would be a biggest immediate help for our public. And I was telling the ambassador here that if that can be possible with the limited budget that support that we are offering, if we can get the required number of specialists from Bangladesh, that would be the best goodwill ambassadors that two countries have together.
So what are some of the good memories from your college days in Bangladesh?
Overall, I had good days there. Bangladeshis are very, very friendly nature. I have a lot of good friends who are already working in mid-level position there. So yes, I had good times. I had my medical degree as well as my surgical degree from there. So I cannot recall any sore points in my life when I was in Bangladesh. So whatever I had is definitely good, positive. Yeah.
Now that I think you have been at the helm of the government for 5 months, how would you describe the challenges of leading a country?
Challenges, I mean, it all depends on how you take it. I had always been a professional. So with that mindset, of the challenges that we have, I think I can broadly categorize into 2. 1, unnecessary challenge, and 1, really required. Unnecessary probably is coming from politics, because I'm not blaming anyone, but after having formal democracy in the country, perception that our people are having is that the politicians or the candidate or the party that they have voted for is answerable for every problem that they face in their lives. And they expect the politicians to be having the answers to all their issues in lives, which is the most difficult challenge, unnecessary challenge. But I'm not blaming anyone. That is the way it is. That is the expectation, not just in Bhutan, but all over the world actually. But more on the professional side, on governance side, I'm excited and I'm happy because most of the things are turning out the way I expected. There are a lot of things we can do, so I'm excited to do a lot. There are a lot of things that we need to look into very seriously, and we are looking into that. As a small country, landlocked and wedged between two giant, physically large countries and economically giants in the world, the most difficult challenge we have is to be having that competitive edge, which is very difficult. We have two countries on either side, which has the biggest pool of cheap laborers in the world. To do business, that is the engine, and we have no competitive edge over that. So as we take serious steps to boost our private sector, I really am not sure how much we can do it, because we really cannot compete with our neighbors anyway. So that being said, we are trying. We have already formed the Private Sector Development Committee, and we are waiting for them to come up with good suggestions. And as long as it is good for the country, we will not hesitate to take any bold step that is required. So that is exciting part, because we didn't have any preformed ideas before coming to this office. Now we are working with a clear mandate that is long-term interest of this country. So as a politician, we are taking a very, very difficult step. That is to do what is right for this country and not just what is politically popular.
Lanchin, the government recently came under, I think, a lot of public scrutiny and also some criticism when you declared that all the first 120 days pledges have been fulfilled. Do you think maybe the government should have been more careful in terms of assessing the progress of the pledges?
My stand is very clear on this. Whatever the media said, it didn't affect me at all, because I exactly know what I'm doing and I exactly know what I said. We have categorized the 120-day pledges into three: fulfilled, on track, dropped or not fulfilled. And we thought we were being very frank. It's up to media and journalists how they want to interpret that, and I have no problems with that. They have their own rights and I respect that. From our side, I would have regretted with this result if I have functioned last 5 months driven by my manifesto. If I had functioned just targeting my manifesto and fulfilling the manifesto, then I achieved not even 30-40% of the 120-day pledges, right? I have officially declared that I think only 7-8 of them are fully fulfilled. 12-13 of them are on track. 6-7 of them are dropped or could not be fulfilled. So when I came up with a frank assessment, of course media wrote it in their own way, they want to write it, but if I had functioned and governed targeting the pledges, then that is a very poor result. Yeah? But since the mandate is very clear, since my approach is very clear, that my approach is not what is popular, do what is right, not pledge-driven governance, whereas need-driven and what is required for the country. So since that is my approach and that will be my approach for the next 5 years, I'm not worried about whether the pledges are getting fulfilled or not. Yeah.
So some of the decisions like the class 10 cut-off point, and also the decision about the introduction of TVET as one of the streams, I think we're a little rushed without probably the necessary preparations. And risk, especially with the cut-off point, with a lot of students now having qualified for class 11, the concern is about possible compromise in terms of quality of education, in terms of limited infrastructure, in terms of having to reappropriate budget. So do you think maybe this could have overall maybe some ramifications in the long term?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to share my views on this, but that doesn't mean to say your question is correct. I don't agree with the fact that letting class 10 pass out students going to 11 will compromise the quality. First, you have to tell me what is quality of education. First, you have to assess if class 10 cutoff point was instituted just to maintain the quality or not. Please be very careful with that. I've never seen any record anywhere saying class 10 cutoff was there to maintain the quality. right? So when it comes to TVET being one of the streams that is talked about, we are trying to come up with that. It is not yet there. So after qualifying your question, yes, have we rushed it? I don't know. It's for you to judge. One may say we have rushed it. One may say that is timely. Initially, after taking cue from the last education conference in Mymensingh, the educationists said, yes, that is good, it's relevant, it's required, but let's do it from next year. And we agreed with that. That's why we couldn't put it up to the parliament, thinking that it will come only next year. But after roughly going through the class 10 exams, some 4,000 plus students will not be getting the chance. So then we decided to support this group also, because we are going to do it from next year anyway. We assessed, and in private schools, we had almost 5,000 plus seats anyway available. The government has already given them the permission to run. So since there are enough seats available, since class students have already taken their exams, I said the only thing that government needs to do is look for little money to pay to these private colleges. So I said, okay then, why let this group of 4,000 students be considering themselves unfortunate? Because from next year onwards, we are going to take it up anyway. So why leave this one particular batch in our tenure, right? So based on that, we said maybe it's easier for the government to look for money and give the opportunity from the year one. That's why we decided now. And students are in class 10, 11 in private schools. Yet we haven't fulfilled all the capacities of the private schools, by the way. There are still a lot of seats empty going around. So in terms of physical infrastructure required or not, government didn't do anything, didn't do much rather. We actually gave scholarships to the students to study in private schools. That all class 10 students deserve to go to class 11, because if you realize, if you dig deeper into the policies of the government, there is a lot of shift, if not everything, towards minimum requirement being class 12. Almost all the certificate courses that could be managed with class 10 certificate are now gone to 12 certificate. In the hospital only, we have some 10, 8, 9 technician courses: X-ray technician, ultrasound technician, lab technician, ortho technician, ENT technician, HAs. All these used to be class 10. Now they have all gone up to class 12, minimum class 12. Now LCC has even come up with a point of saying that gedungs and ECCT facilitators will require minimum class 12. You name one training course, one diploma course in a popular country like Australia, all after class 12. So now we want to raise the bar to 12 so that all the students with a 12 certificate in their bag will be academically eligible to try for all these courses. Otherwise, we are just blocking them out. So if you allow me to rephrase this, by the term cut off, we are actually cutting off 4,000 to 5,000 students every year from mainstream education. And these are in the range of 10, maybe 15, 16 year age group. Maximum of these class 10 pass outs are 15, 16 years. I, as an individual, do not expect a 15-year-old to go look for a job. From a legal point of view, somebody without having 18 years, age of majority, he cannot sign a document. But rampantly, our government until now had been asking these 14, 15-year-olds to go look for a job. I thought that was not fair. Yeah? So on that front, I was very excited. We started off. There can be hiccups, there can be loopholes. We understand that. If you find any loopholes, if you find any measures that we can do to make this system more efficient, I'll be more than happy to listen. Otherwise, I would also need further points to say that allowing class 10 pass out to go to 11 will hamper our education quality, because to me, quality of education boils down to quality of our institutes, environment in the institutes, quality of our teachers. Because if quality of our education is through the quality of our teachers, what are we doing to enhance the quality of our teachers? That would be a good question to be asked. So for that, we are coming up with a package to make teaching one of the best professions in this country, one of the most sought after professions in this country, so that anything else will be taken up only after that person do not qualify to be a teacher. So I thought that would be the one that will actually enhance the quality of education. We all know that textbook-based learning, exam-based assessment are no more good, no more relevant. But in our country, all the so-called good students are the ones who score good marks. That's the single criteria to label somebody good student, right? We want to do away with this. We are saying that exam-based assessment is just one way to assess, is not the only way to assess. But so far we are assessing our students based only on exam base. So isn't that actually targeting the quality of education? We know that these assessment systems are not fair. It will only give that student more credit if he can mug up more and retain little more. So we want to switch from summative style of assessment to formative style. No, let them learn, open up themselves up, and expose their actual capacity so that they can do what they are best at. Are we not targeting the educational quality at the grassroots level? So I feel a little disheartened, I feel a little sad when a lot of these well-intended, well-required measures are already initiated by this government targeting the educational quality. No mention is made about this. But everybody wants to echo or parrot saying letting class 10 passouts go to 11 will hamper the educational quality, which has no merit actually. So I don't know. So this is what I personally feel. If the media feels that that is going to hamper our education, I'm more willing to undo it. Let class 10 be cut off from mainstream education. Let 10, 11-year-old, let 14 and 15-year-olds be hitting the job market, and then let this group of people be drunkards, let this group of people be drug addicts, and let our youth unemployment section be ballooning out. If that is what the nation needs, I personally have no problems to that.
Lanchin, I think you mentioned about especially the need to retain teachers. Will your government be working out a retention strategy?
Yes, we will. That's what I said. Our intention, the vision is to make teaching one of the best professions in the country. Itself says that we will encourage to be for them to be taking up the teaching profession, and once they are teachers, we'll encourage them to keep the job and be in this profession. But no government of the day can force them to continue teaching. That is. And again, yes, we have more number of teachers, absolute number of teachers leaving the jobs compared to other professions. But we should also be mindful that teachers are the biggest subset of civil servants. So by proportion, they may not be the biggest proportion leaving their jobs. So everyone, every Bhutanese is looking for greener pasture, and that is understandable. We respect that. That's personal opinion, and myself and the government will respect that. Anybody who is able to earn little more or little better or enhance your quality of life, I think that's human nature. Our job, to answer your question straight, we would like to encourage more taking this teaching profession, and we would like to encourage, create a conducive environment for them to continue as good teachers. We would like to support them with whatever logistic support that we have, both in terms of cash or kind, in terms of incentives, cash incentives, in terms of making their work lighter, more professional, in terms of other logistic support. So let's see how much we can do, but we are very passionate about this. Yeah.
Lanchin, one of the major, I think, concern after the introduction of democracy has been the quality of public works that are often rushed to meet the 5-year tenure, and I think we have seen a number of examples as the government approaches the end of its tenure. We saw even in the past governments rushing up to finish the projects, inaugurate them, which we believe is to showcase to the voters your own achievements. Clear case, I think, is the Gelifu Hospital, a mega project which was rushed, and recently there have been reports of the poor quality of works. So, however, DNT government has that opportunity to let these mega projects continue into the next tenure, even if the DNT doesn't come into power. So, there's an opportunity to set a good precedent. And my question is, would you be doing that, for example, not necessarily rounding up a project?
It can be looked at it in a many different aspects to it. So frankly speaking, I'll just let time answer this question. Yeah? Because what the previous government has done, they have done it with their own principles. They have done it with their own visions in place. I have no words to say anything in favor or against that. It's all for you to judge. For us, since we have just started functioning, I don't want to be only talking and not doing. So please come back, judge us, be with us for the next 5 years, and then end of the term, you can level us doing the way things are done by the past governments, or you can level us doing things a little differently. But my intention is very clear. I said this is Royal Government of Bhutan, not DNT government. We have taken a very difficult political task. As a politician, the most difficult thing is to do what is the right thing to do and not just what is the popular thing to do. And we have taken the right thing to do first.
Journalism in Bhutan, I think the general perception is it's really weakened. And I think Your Excellency yourself have often questioned journalists questioned them for not asking interesting, intelligent questions. But I think here lies the opportunity for your government to strengthen the media sector. So have you been thinking about doing something about strengthening the sector?
Yes. To answer your question, I think if our media is weak, don't blame us. If our media is good and strong, I don't mean to take the credit because we haven't done anything here. All what we have done in 5 months is encourage them to be professional. We have expectations very high from them, so we want them to perform accordingly. But when it comes to media, I don't want to waste any time in saying how important media is in democracy. We all know that. From our side, few things that we will do. One thing we will do is we will not politicize media. One thing we will do is we will not discriminate between the media houses. Yeah? What they write is up to them. Media who writes good thing about us, we will not be entertaining them in a little different way. Media who write bad thing about us will also be not treated differently. So they all will dealt with professionally, should be. Secondly, in terms of capacity building, I already said this is something that we really want to look into. We will follow media houses, we will follow media individuals. Those who are professional, those that deserves attention will be given attention, house by house or individual by individual. From government policy point of view, you should know there is no problem. Policy allows free media to come up, so we will not change that. Yeah? But as we govern, wherever media needs help, if policy needs to be changed for better, media must come up with suggestions. We are more than happy to listen to that. Right now, few requests have come for monetary support, and that we said we will look into this. But end of the day, we must know that government has limited resources. That is the key point here. If we had more, we will give more. If we had less, we will give them less. You can't help it. But my take is media is important. We will entertain, we will encourage, we will ease out if there are any policy restrictions, which I personally feel there isn't now. It's just the way we do business. It's just the way we think. But there's no real media hindrance, a policy hindrance on media performance. Yeah.
Coming back to the creation of a pool of more educated youth vis-a-vis the employment scenario, and now that one of your major policy intervention is going to, I think, increase the pool of job seekers who are more qualified, and yet I think youth employment has been a major issue. Both the past two governments have not been able to come up with very specific or let's say employment intensive strategies. That's why the problem continues to fester. Have you already identified specific areas where which will contribute to the elevation of the employment?
Past governments have done their best. They have taken a lot of initiatives, but unemployment on the other side is increasing year by year, if not session by sessions. So that is a problem. We know that. Now, when you say that that this government will increase the pool of educated job seekers, we will have to, or qualified job seekers, as you said, I think that needs a separate discussion. What do you mean by qualified? I personally feel that we don't have that many qualified job seekers for the job. Yeah, we don't have qualified job seekers for construction. We don't have qualified job seekers or qualified individuals to do farming. Just that somebody had some basic education to 12 level or graduate level, and that person going to a farm doing some farming work doesn't mean he's educated. We call him educated farmer, but he doesn't have any education in farming. So I don't call them educated or qualified. So this is where the question of matchmaking is coming. This is what we are very, very keen about. We have lots of youth unemployed, and if I remind you of the subset of unemployed youth, we have a huge group of graduate unemployed. That is worrisome. Almost 65% of the graduates are unemployed. This is where relevance of education comes. Are we educating our youth in the most relevant way? We have job vacancies going on the rise. We have hundreds of thousands of construction industry workers from our neighboring countries, and thousands of our youth getting unemployed. And we keep blaming our youth for not respecting dignity of labor. We keep blaming our youth for not taking this construction work up. But we have never realized that construction industry, a lot of physical work is required and is paid very low. So it's rather more of a monetary differences than job respect difference, So this is where we are looking into it. We would like to professionalize all construction industry workers. We would like to make sure that somebody going to office and doing a so-called white-collar job, and somebody going to the construction industry and doing so-called blue-collar job, end of the day must be paid the same, if not more on the blue-collar side. So then only we can wait and see whether our Bhutanese actually respect nature of the job or not. So we would like to professionalize construction industry. We would like to invest hugely in agriculture sector, give them education in farming, support them with machineries, improve devices, monetary support, and then give them access to land holdings, send them to the villages and work on it. I'm sure they will be happy to do it. They don't have to sweat it out in sun with hard labor. They can have an office in a village, internet connected computer office in a village, and learn how to do farming and practice it themselves. This government will ensure 100% market for whatever they produce. So at the end of the day, I want them to earn more than somebody going to office here. So then only we can judge whether our students actually respect the kind of job they do or not. Yeah? Then the other one is private sector. So private sector is required, is the engine of growth of any nation, is the real answer to unemployment. So what I have realized is we have unemployment going up, private sector not coming up. So maybe unemployment is going up because our private sector is not coming up. So we are going to ease out policies. We are going to review. We are reviewing the FDI policy. We are reviewing the CSI policy, small and cottage industries policies that we have, so that more inclusive nature will be there. We would like to, as far as possible, discourage business blooming through connection. That is crony type of capitalism. Otherwise, to do business in Bhutan, you must know somebody. You must have access to the policies. You must have access to finance. You should already be a rich person to do business here. There are very less room where ideas have been encouraged and transformed into action. So we would like to see, encourage more startup centers, encourage more entrepreneurs coming up, willing to take risks, so that in my tenure, if I can see younger minds, brighter ideas getting into practical. So in short terms, I would like to see more of venture capitalists coming up. Government must invest in them. Big business houses must also invest in them. Anybody doing any business in a locality, that local people must be benefited out of that business, rather than a business house coming to an area, taking all their profits and walking out of the village. Is something that I really don't want to happen.
Our constitution doesn't allow direct participation of the parties which are outside of the parliament to voice out their perspectives, opinions on national debates. And if we remember last year in 2018, I think when DNT at the time was out of the parliament, had called for a press conference, and there was objection from the ruling government saying that parties outside the parliament should not be giving out official press conferences. And our constitution also limits in the way, because the supporters of the parties which are not represented in the parliament actually have no voice. So my question is, do you think we should find a way for the third parties, out of the parliament parties, to play a role in national deliberations and discourses?
Our constitution doesn't say parties outside the parliament do not have the right. It doesn't say at all. So constitution is silent on that, meaning we are allowed or we are not allowed, we don't know. So who decides? It all depends on government of the day and judiciary, ultimately, right? So again, I don't want to go back. Since the constitution is silent on this, this government do not have any problems into any parties doing anything. As long as permissible within the elections laws, I have no problems with that. We have initiated, as we won, as we formed the government, all the party manifestos were reviewed, all the important ones were included. That's why we wanted to have a platform. And we also wanted to have a platform where all parties can raise their voice. And this is something already done. We already had one meeting of all the political parties where all the general secretaries and the representatives of the parties came. From our government, foreign minister, the spokesperson of the party went and participated. And then we opened the door for them to say anything they want to say, bring in any suggestions they want to suggest. And we have also, as pledged, wanted to come up with a long-term vision document for this country, so that political parties will use it as a sort of reference for them when they frame the manifesto. And this will also set some sort of moral standard for all the politicians and parties to not just rule this country in a 5-yearly projects, so that this will be a long-term framework. And to frame this document, the work is already started. We have given the ownership and the responsibility to GNSC, and to them we said all political parties must also be represented. So they were invited. It's up to them whether they want to come or not, but door is open for them. In the last roundtable meeting, it happens twice at the most in every government's term. We had it last month. We invited all the political parties. They said, you must come and listen. There's no real room for them to voice their concerns there, because they are not donors. But they were all there, all throughout the events. They listened to everything. And from there, they should also know how the government's takes are. And then I already mentioned to all political parties that this office is always open. You wanted to get something done for this country, please let us know. If you want it, get it done when your government is in power, then you have to wait and let public decide on this. But if you care about this country, if you want it done, if you don't really care about who takes the credit, let us know. I think we'll get it done. And I don't mind giving them the credit. So to answer your questions short, I think Constitution is silent on this. Our laws allow all political parties to participate. When we were outside the parliament, we did what we could. Yeah. So and then no law enforcing agents came to us heavy on that. Some noise were raised, but nobody really came up strong. So I don't think there's any legal binding to this. And I encourage the parties outside the parliament to raise reasonable noise, to come up with criticisms that will help us function more efficiently, to correct us if you are going wrong, because human beings can go wrong. I agree with that. Yeah.
Now that you have been for 5 months now heading the government, and the 12th plan has been endorsed, I think you also had the opportunity to visit India and rope in the financial support from the Indian government. Yet some deficit still exists. So have you figured out how would you meet that deficit, the budget deficit, especially for the flagship programs?
Yeah, if I say I have figured out, it will be wrong. I'm figuring out. And on a very frank note, if the programs and projects are already identified, if the required money is already in our coffer, then on a very frank note, there's hardly any challenge to it. Yeah, we just enjoy your 5-year stay because you will never fail. Since there are a lot of things that we need to do, many of the things, major things that we need to do are still not even budgeted right now, right? Yet we are coming out, going all strong out with these pledges, the projects, and even at the arbitrary cap of 310 billion for the 12th plan, we still have 29 billion short. Yeah, and then on that, many of our health manifestos are not even included there. So that gives us a lot of excitement and challenges. So yes, we are figuring out how to get these things done, how to do business. We have been requesting all our donor partners until now to change their mindset and see how they can do business with us. Yeah, in terms of, we are so used to getting donor free money, grants. I think we must also be now taking a step ahead, take highly concessional loans, interest-free loans, invest them wisely, pay them back the capital, and we take advantage on the interest side. So I think as we evolve, we must change the way we do our business. We must change our mindset. And as I said, we are also requesting the donor partners to change their stand on us. So as the donor part, as the grant component comes down, we must build up on the business component. Yeah? So it's very simple. So it's very challenging. I like the excitement. I like the challenge that we have to meet at least 30-35 billion fiscal deficit.